Hi everybody, and thank you so much for joining me on my channel today. I hope we're doing really well. We're into that festive season and I'm absolutely loving all of the food that I'm making at the moment. And one thing that I always do, and this is something I've done for quite a few years now, is get prepared early and make a gorgeous gravy. Of course, you don't have to make your own. There's plenty that you can now buy in the supermarkets. But if you are someone that likes to cook, then you have to do this make ahead gravy because it tastes so much better, absolutely full of flavour. This makes a really large portion as well, so plenty to go round, and it's really easy. Let me show you how to make the best gravy ever. I love this gravy because I can make it ahead of time, take some of the stress out of Christmas, and it's going to taste so much better than anything you can buy in the supermarkets. So let's start with our carrot, just taking the end off there, and we want to just roughly chop. So we've got a couple of onions, we've got carrot and celery, we just need to roughly chop those. So I'm not too worried about the size, but just into smallish pieces like this is fine. I don't know how many years running now that I have made this gravy because it is just so good, and it makes a nice big batch as well. So we've got a roasting tin here because it's actually going to be roasted in the oven. Let's do the other carrot. Look at the size of this carrot, it's absolutely huge. This is from one of those wonky bags that you get. Love that, saves a bit of money. I don't mind what sizes the carrots are. Makes zero difference to the taste. A good gravy is really what brings your Christmas dinner together. If you cook everything perfectly, but then you've got a really horrid gravy, it's just really going to ruin it, isn't it? So this is one of the key important things for making a really good Christmas dinner. There's often a lot of stress and a lot of pressure, I think, about creating a really nice meal for everybody, and especially if you're the one person that cooks it and nobody else helps, and it feels like it's all on your shoulders, doesn't it? So hopefully some of these recipes that I'm giving you are helping, and really you can make this quite a few days in advance. It's not going to be a problem. Carrots are done. Let's get the onions peeled and get those in. This is when I find cooking for Christmas really pleasurable, when you can do it one step at a time, make a few things in advance. I know a lot of people go as far as making things really far in advance and actually putting things like roast potatoes in the freezer. It's not something that I do. I just don't personally think they taste as good, but each to their own. You do what suits you. Okay, so onion goes in, just roughly chopping this up like this. That is all good. I'm just going to go and give this celery a little wash, and again just chop that roughly. And that was 2 sticks of celery. I've got 2 pieces of streaky bacon here, and again you just want to chop this into pieces and get that into the roasting dish along with the veg. We're going to add some bay leaves, and these are dried ones, so I'm going to put 2 of those in. We want some sage, so I'm going to put a couple of sprigs in, which is quite a lot. The good thing about buying sage this time of year is a lot of my recipes are going to be using that, so it's not going to go to waste. We're going to use all of that. We want some rosemary as well. Of course, you can use dried herbs for this. Use what you've got, but I've got this plant, so you want a couple of good sprigs, really. You can see now all the flavour that's going into this and making it super delicious. Now for the main part, which is our chicken wings. I know this seems quite excessive because you're cooking all of this to make a gravy, but I'm telling you now, it is completely worth it. So let's put the chicken on top. I'm just going to scatter this bacon a little bit more because it did get quite stuck together when I was cutting that up. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and a little one, 10. Okay, great. That's all the chicken in. I'm going to go and wash my hands. Now it's important to season this well, so I've got some sea salt here. And then also some black pepper. And lastly, a little bit of olive oil, and that needs to go all over like this. Now that is ready for the oven. We're going to cook it for an hour or until everything is really tender. And that is going to be on 180 degrees. So I'll be back when that is cooked. This has now had an hour in the oven. If you've got a roasting dish that can go straight onto your gas hob, then you can do that. I don't obviously have that here. So I've transferred mine to a saucepan and we can finish making the lovely gravy. So just squish everything down. The more you squish it and get that chicken crushed into those veggies, we're going to get loads of flavour out of this. So a really good mash down like this. If you want to, add a little bit of sherry, a little bit of port, or a little bit of wine. Doesn't need to be a great deal, or just leave that out. To make this into a gravy, we need to use some flour, and this is going to thicken this up. We want 4 tablespoons of plain flour. You can use gluten-free if you need to, it's not a problem. Let's mix that in. Doesn't look the most appealing, does it, right now? But this is absolutely full of flavour. And then to that, we want to add 2 litres of water from a recently boiled kettle. So that is a lot. And that is why this gravy is so good, because it makes such a massive batch. So if you've got lots of people coming for Christmas, this is the way to go. Right, so I've got all my liquid in there. Could have done with a slightly bigger saucepan really, but it fits. Now all I want to do is bring that temperature down slightly, and we're just going to simmer this for half an hour, and that's really going to infuse those flavours. It's going to help it to thicken up as well, so I'll come back in half hour. I actually gave this a bit longer, so this has probably had like 40 minutes. I'm going to turn that off, and then we're going to put this through a sieve. It smells absolutely incredible. And I'm just going to get a fork and just really mush this down, push this down as much as possible, get all the goodness out of there, and you can see that going into the bottom. With this gravy, you can keep this in the fridge, put it in an airtight container in the fridge, once it's cooled of course. And you could also freeze this, so you could make this quite far in advance and actually freeze it. So on Christmas Day, if you're having turkey, for example, once the turkey is cooked, you just want to remove that and then save the juices. And you can actually add that to your gravy, and you can even add the gravy to the turkey pot if you've got like a gas hob like I was talking about earlier. You are going to want to, once this is cooled, skim away any fat that is left on top, because obviously that isn't nice to eat, and that's something we can't avoid. Obviously we've got bacon in here, we've got the chicken in here, there's going to be an element of fat. On Christmas Day, all you will need to do is then reheat this gravy, and you can just taste it, add some extra seasoning if you feel it needs it, and maybe even add some cranberry sauce to it. That could probably help balance out the flavours of this really nicely. So there you go, there is my gravy. Once I've strained everything, what I tend to do is just put it back on the hob just for a short amount of time and try and get the consistency that I want. That has only literally had a few minutes, and that has already started to thicken up. Nobody likes a really thin gravy. That's another reason that I cooked it for say like 40 minutes instead of the 30, which I first mentioned. You may find you need up to an hour. Just do it until you've got the consistency that you enjoy. I'm not going to worry about thickening this up too much more at this stage, because of course this is going to be reheated on the day. We're going to add some cranberry sauce to it, and we can thicken it further then if we need to. Look at this, a really rich, flavoursome gravy. You're going to absolutely love this. Thank you so much for watching my video. I hope you've enjoyed today's recipe and that you give it a try over the festive season. Wishing everybody a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and I hope to see you next time for another recipe. Thanks for watching. See you soon. Bye.